out because I have no idea if they fixed the internet or not, or fixed the glitch between Android and internet and Wi-Fi and Facebook. All right. There's so many ways to figure out stuff. And everything is strategy. Okay, awesome. So I guess my strategy is working. Maybe one day I'll just test it out without doing my strategy. All right, so, okay. Excuse me. As you can see, this clearing of the throat is very necessary because Friday was insane. Not that Friday was actually insane. It was recovering from Friday, which was actually insane. And that's the thing. You won't know what you have come upon until after the fact. And then you'll think like, well, first of all, you won't know that you've come upon stuff because you have predispositions. When you first start the jelly juice, you will have predispositions. And so anything that you have cured with the jelly juice will not go away until you actually deal with it. And then what will wake it up if you've cured it with the J juice, because we know that happens. People cure themselves with J juice at some point. Then they go get exposed to a new variant, and that variant wakes up what was not actually dealt with, but was cured. And so this is when you will have to figure out at some point when you reverse all your issues, and then you come upon new variants that will then make you tired. See, I don't have any pain. The only pain I think I felt a little bit was because I didn't have coffee on Sunday. Like, I had no coffee. I was coughing so much and blowing my nose so much Saturday night that I was kind of like in a zombie state. Like, literally I was in a zombie state. And so I woke up and I knew I had to get stuff done on Sunday. And so I just did not have coffee and went and did the shopping. And then, yes, I finally had to do the sleeping and everything. And so really this whole weekend was recovering from the last, from Friday. It was recovering from Friday because I was fine. Everything is great during the week. And if I ever go outside of my homogenous zone, which is my house, that's when I have to reconcile with stuff. And so that's what an open system is like. When you're in a closed system, yeah, it's great. People love being in a closed system because they're cured. They don't feel anything. They can play with their hormones at their whim, which is either drinking coffee or using specific drugs or alcohol. And that's okay for a certain amount of time, but then you know that drugs and alcohol will cause cancer or cause other issues at some point down the road, if not already. And so that will only last so long. And in this dynamic environment, drugs and alcohol will not give you the kind of stay of execution that you think you're going to get, though people are just expecting to be under the influence until they pass away. But it could happen sooner than later. Before, in a less dynamic environment, you had a lot of time to have fun and then, then leave a legacy and all that. Nowadays, you don't even know when something's going to hit because the environment is that dynamic. There are so many swirling viruses that will wake up stuff prematurely. Why prematurely? Because it probably wouldn't have woken up in a lesser dynamic environment. So then, so you have to think about COVID-19. It has a higher order of magnitude. And the order of magnitudes are based upon the math formula of 10 to the power of, 100 to the power of, 10 to the power of 10, 10 to the power of, 11, 10 to the, so COVID-19 has a higher order of magnitude. It has a higher algorithm because there is so much to it. And it has been mutating throughout the population, picking up information as it mutates. And then when we're getting different therapeutics from different parts of the world, because the therapeutics are using different spike proteins from people's defense systems. That's why they take the tests. You think, they just take the test and then take it to the lab and they can study it and that's it. They throw it away. No, they use that information to make the therapies. That's your defense system. Every single time you cough out something, that's a defense system. Okay. And so when I'm exposed to some people's defense systems at the restaurant that I was at, or maybe in the office for a minute, I doubt it was the office. It was me being in that restaurant for about an hour, more than a half hour. I thought it was a half an hour, but no, when you're at a restaurant, it's about an hour because it takes about maybe 10 minutes, 3 or 5 minutes to order your food if they get to you like in a timely manner. And they were pretty timely. It takes about maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes to even get your food. It takes another half an hour to eat your food, because you're not going to just scarf it down and then get on your way. You're going to be eating and enjoying and talking to your mate, and you're going to be talking to people around you, and everyone is just throwing their defense systems at you, and you can't see it. It's invisible. It's the invisible war. And so then I started coughing not too long after that, coughing, sneezing, blowing my nose, and it was pretty intense. And so, you know, my husband sees it. I'm not sure how much he understands the correlation of me going out there. And even if he does understand, it doesn't affect him. See, that's what I'm saying. When you're cured, you're going to inflict pain onto other people, because you don't know to what magnitude the suffering is. When you're in an open system, you will suffer. When you're in a closed system, you'll suffer at some point. That you got to realize is that the aging process in cancer, disease, and chronic illness is all the suffering from every single time you're exposed to a new variant that you never dealt with. And it was locked inside, hidden away through your immune system or through your body for a certain amount of time. Oh, here, my dog. She's going to have to get up pretty soon. And then eventually, then you have to deal with it. And it's like retroactive evolution. It's like seriously retroactive evolution. And so, I'm going to have to get her outside. So I may have to take a break for a second. I'll probably stay online, so I don't feel like doing this again. But, all right, I'm going to take you with me so you see what it's like for me to deal with my dog in the morning. But yeah, it's like retroactive evolution. And so that turns into something diagnosable in the future. And it might happen sooner than later for a lot of people. So, Sugar, come on, let's go outside. Let's go potty. Come on, let's go potty. Come on. Let's go. Come on, let's go downstairs. Come on. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, Sugar. Come on, Sugar. She knows it right outside. I'm going to see if she's going to try to pee in here. Come on, Sugar. Come on, let's go. Downstairs. Come on, let's go. Come on. I know. You're here. Come on, let's go. And so anyway, come on, Sugar. Downstairs. Let's go. Come on. Downstairs. Nope, you're not going back. Nope. You're going to go downstairs. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. She didn't pee in the freaking house. And she knows it's raining. So she's doing okay. That was one of the issues, is that when it was raining and she was also feeling a little badly, she would just pee in the house right in front of me. But now, you know, she's doing okay. There she is. All right. Okay, come on. Go. Oh. She like half pees on it. She's so cute. And she could have peed on the freaking in the room, but she didn't. I gotta give her a little props for that. All right. Okay. Excuse me. All right, Sugar. I'll put some food. Let me just put some food in her dish right now. Should have done it earlier. And since it's raining, I swear. Okay. All right. Okay. So anyways, I'm going to just do this real quick. I just got to get her taken care of. Because it's my puppy. And she's been doing such an amazing job. I'm so proud of her. I tell you what. I'm seriously, you guys. She's been doing awesome. Okay. So. So anyway, closed systems will deal with stuff retroactively, and open systems deal with things as they come. And it means that yeah, when you play, you pay. Like literally, when you play, you pay. And so, how much can you afford to do that? And that's what you've been living in. See, we didn't know this before, so it was just okay that people would get disease and cancer and all that. No, it wasn't really okay, but people accepted that. Now you have to realize that with the way things are changing, the economy is changing, and you don't have to have as much as you think you have to have. Now you see the ramifications of your actions, and now you see what it's like, what happens on your body on the inside when you see what happens to me and to other people who are getting, you know, all the symptoms on the outside. And just because you don't feel it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That's what you have to realize, is that just because you don't feel it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Of course it exists. But when will it exist for you? Well, that's the gamble people are taking, you know? And so what I'm proposing is that you don't have to take that gamble. That life doesn't have to be a gamble. You don't have to wonder if you going out one time, maybe you're going to catch something, and then you have to take up all the different remedies and therapies and preventatives, that those even work against you. Because, you know, that will happen too. When you take so many preventatives, now I'm going to pet my dog. You take so many preventatives and so many therapies and so many things to stop the energy, that eventually it'll stop you. But then you have to realize that, then we said about antibiotics, the positive plus the negative will make you stronger only on a body that's not at a deficit. On a body that's at a deficit, the antibiotics will actually cause eventual rest and peace. And we don't want that to happen. But how do you have a life, when you think about it, how do you have a life and not die from cancer, disease, and chronic illness? You got to change your life. That's just, you have to change your life. And if you don't change your life, then if you don't take account all the transactions that you go through as far as your daily life with the people that you see that are not part of your usual household, that will end up costing you so much more than you can afford. That's what I'm saying. People go bankrupt when they don't realize how expensive it is to go out there, literally and figuratively. And I mean that by, yeah, it's expensive to now buy food, yeah, because they want you to now stop spending on stupid stuff, like cheap goods from China, like all the crap that you don't need, all the entertainment stuff, and start buying food and taking care of your priorities. Okay? And so if you're out there all the time and you're and you're spending so much money on gas and BS, then they know that you're out there just gallivanting, spreading the disease, yes, mutating the virus strains. You don't want to change. And so it'll be very expensive in the wallet, and it'll be expensive in your immune system. Because can you really afford to be out there when you have 100 viruses working against you from that one exposure of you being out there with your friends and family for like a whole weekend? And everyone's drinking and doing all this stuff, and they're releasing their mucus all over you. That's taken away. Some could add to you, but you already have glitchy viral programming that's going to work against you anyways. And so whatever benefits you could get from these viruses are going to be actively negated because of all the therapies that are laced in with these viruses. And you haven't figured out how to reconcile with your own accounts, literally in your body. Maybe you have your bank book all nice and done up, but your body has not reconciled with the accounts that you've been taking on for years and years and years. And it really is financial. This is so like the stock market, like crypto, like all that stuff where you're gambling on stuff that you can't afford. You're just riding on air, you know, living off of fumes, surviving on fumes. And so I felt stronger after eating all that food. Like when I ate all that food, that I had the biggest bowl of cereal, and I made some processed strawberries, which means that I took the strawberries, cut them up in pieces, I took the tops off them, and I added some sugar and a little bit of vanilla, mixed it together, put it in a container, a storage container, and I made some cereal when I was really hungry, and it was like rice Chex plus a little bit of Life, and I added that scoop of the strawberries and a bunch of bananas, and I was just eating it like, oh, I didn't even drink the milk, but I ate the whole cereal because the milk was just too sweet for me because of all the Chex and everything else. But I'll tell you, I went on that. I mean, I mad on that thing like I said, white on rice. It was just like there was no tomorrow. And then after that, I made the pork chops with the kale and the fried rotel with it, with a little bit of red sauce. And even eating that was like hardly enough, but it was enough. And then I had some cheesecake. I mean, I'm telling you, there was no bounds to any of my appetite. I was eating up a storm because the amount of viruses I was exposed to was eating so much of the energy, and I was coughing so much, blowing out mucus. I mean, that's what cell replication is blowing out mucus. Because your body produces proteins to protect you against whatever invading force, and also replicate if it needs to, if it's something that is going to work for you. And so your body's producing energy. Where's the energy come from? It comes from you. You have to have the energy to produce energy. That's what we realize with why even the therapeutics can work against somebody, because for them to even be protected, they have to have enough substance to then produce the protection. Okay, so that's great. You have personal protection. So you're out there, and then you're out there triggering that specific algorithm that you're protected against. That protection comes up in mucus, and you'll be coughing it out. Then that mucus is then a conversion of whatever said virus is in you. And so now it's another unique identifier. That's what people do. They go out there and they're spewing out all their different personal lines of protection. And it's like basically they've converted the energy and the algorithms to now make a newer strain that could be potentially stronger, because we have people who are dying from or dealing with cancer, disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders that are so aggressively sick that the more reaction they have, the higher the algorithms, the higher the energy is in each of their mucus release. And so that's why we have such crazy strains, because we have so many people that are out there that are dealing with a lot of diagnosable conditions that they're highly advanced in the energetic release process. And so that's why it's not a cold and flu. That's why it's a higher magnitude. And so when you get exposed, you get it. So then when you get exposed and you don't feel hungry, you don't feel anything, then those little things are eating you out from the inside, not telling you to eat. And if it is telling you to eat and you're eating and you're gaining weight, you're going to try to stop eating because you're gaining weight. That's the other side of it too, is that people have gained a lot of weight when they've been under the lockdown, but they think, oh, because they're not exercising. No, it's also, this virus is so highly energetic that it will cause cell replication. It'll cause, yes, some mucus to regenerate, or mucus to produce at such an aggressive level that it'll cause the bloating. It'll cause bloating in your belly. Like, I felt like I weighed 100 pounds the last couple of days, or more than 100 pounds. I felt like I weighed an extra 100 pounds on top of my 100-something pounds. Okay, I was bloated. I felt my belly, like I could see the difference in my waistband. And even pooping wasn't enough. Even working my own sphincter wasn't enough. But then this morning I released a bunch of poop. And I was farting up a storm last night. My poor husband was like, what the hell? And I know that my body was releasing a bunch of stuff this last weekend. Okay? And so that's the thing, is that yeah, you will also be bloated. And so what people do is they get bloated from the viral exposure and they gain weight. Then there's so many things going on. Either they quit smoking because they're afraid they're going to die from cancer, so then that also causes them to gain weight. Or their fat pills that they try to take to take off the weight maybe work, maybe it won't, but then they mitigate the nutrition. They block nutrition. Or they actively starve themselves. They do not eat food. They purposely withhold. They do the intermittent fasting, but it's not intermittent. And they're causing their body to cannibalize itself. Because what happens when the body doesn't get the food, it'll eat you. If I didn't get the food yesterday, I would not only be in pain, but who knows, I would train my body to eat itself. And then that's the Ouroboros, where the snake is eating its own tail. Okay. That's what happens when people die, is they have their own body cannibalize itself. And so that's the other side of being exposed to COVID. But if you don't feel anything and you're under the influence of drugs, alcohol, and whatever, yeah, your body's going to cannibalize itself or gain so much weight, then you'll start starving yourself or taking different drugs to mitigate the hunger. And so that's why the only thing really is in this COVID environment is to eat food. No cures. I mean, yeah, like you saw that testimony about that person who used the J juice for colon cancer. They used it for anal cancer, colon cancer, whatever, but they used enemas. Okay, that's one way. That is one way to get to a certain point of equilibrium, but that's not the end of it. Okay? The point of cancer is that it has higher sodium nanoparticles in it because it's a higher energetic force, because it's now trying to overtake the prior entity, and so it has higher sodium nanoparticles to give it the energy. And so when you have more salt in your diet or more salt in your intake, salt water, it'll equalize and neutralize that energetic process, because salt is an equalizing force, and also an energetic force if you're at a deficit. But if there's so much energy, then the salt can actually neutralize that energy. And then all this excess electrons then bleed over to the other ones and give them energy. And then the other cells can catch up, so you don't have a disparity of highly energetic cancer cells that cause people to die. And then now you have more of an even distribution of the energy of the electrons. Okay? But that's not the end. Again, you have to then eventually, when you get to that point of remission, and you're eating food, and then another virus comes in, you feel the pain down there, you let it go, and you eat a higher sodium diet so you can keep recoding. Because then pain is also the body trying to replicate, which means that it's trying to regenerate. whatever was eaten from that cancer. Because cancer is a regeneration, but there's a trigger point to that cancer, which is all the things are eating it, or eating the body to cause the cancer. See, cancer isn't like causing things to eat. Cancer comes from the things that are eating you out from the inside that then triggers a positive, which means you have heavy negatives on this end. The cancer is a heavy positive. You then have to go and neutralize the heavy negatives so the heavy positive isn't like rearing its ugly head. And then you have kind of like peace across the land. But then when you have to build yourself up to the level of the environment, then yeah, you begin pain again, but it's not, now the pain's going to work for you, not against you. And you're going to react to it with food, higher sodium diet. You're not trying to neutralize it with the J juice, because then you'll put yourself in a cured state again, and then you won't evolve. You'll just be cannibalized. And so that's the careful balance of the J juice, is understanding that when you don't feel anything, then that is not good either. You have to feel your environment. And in this crazy world, you'll be feeling your environment once you open your system up. And that means, yes, that you have to feel the mucus come out of your nose, your ear, nose, and throat, whatever. And people who have a hard time blowing their nose really hard because they have pressure in their ears, because, yeah, you have blockages in your alimentary canal. When you're too afraid to touch your butt and figure out your sphincter and figure out how everything works, when you're too afraid of that, then you will have blockages in your alimentary canal. And I'm not saying use enemas all the time, because you shouldn't get used to sticking stuff in your butt beside your own fingers. Anyone that can't seem to figure out their own sphincter, how are you going to survive this? Because I'm telling you, your alimentary canal at the bottom part is everything. That's why you see people pregnant, because the body closed up and wanted to build a baby because of lack of telomere lengthening. And so that's what triggers reproduction, is the lack of telomere lengthening. Or you see the men that have the big bellies. They're too afraid to release in the way they should. Okay, so we have fertile men and fertile women hanging out together. That's great. We love life, but when there's so much life, it turns into cancer and other glitches. And so you have to understand how the sphincter works. And that's what I'm saying. It's so important to understand the Sphinx and the Rosicrucians and the Egyptian background of how this came about, and how they used alchemy to control your alimentary canal, and then used biotech to then control the manual open and closing of your different hormones, and the release and the constrictive stuff with the expansion and the contraction of your blood vessels and all that. And so I'll tell you, this is not an easy world to live in now that you know this. And for some people, it's going to be easier for them to be cured and they can just live out their life. Okay, I understand that. And I know that a lot of parents want to give their kids a regular life, but we're not in a regular world anymore. Okay, maybe you do, maybe you give your kids like some kind of regular life at some point, but if they have a lot of predispositions, then you're just cementing those predispositions. If they have autism and you want to give them a regular life and you don't want to deal with their autism, in a way that makes sense, then most likely they're not going to get out of autism, because the more that they are accepting that this is who they are and this is the way it's going to be, they won't change. And the pain will be too great for them that they'll be like, forget it. You got to start these things. You got to start the biochemical changes out young, so that way you can get through it and they won't have that much of a memory of it. They'll have a cell memory of it, but they won't have much of an intellectual memory of it. So it'll just be part of their childhood. But you're going to give them a great, amazing platform if you can open up their system now versus closing it, because their friends and family, there's a lot of people out there who are part of the fallen kingdom when you think about it. I'm thinking about Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom. Because that's what I look at outside when people are just not realizing how aggressive it is. They are part of the fallen kingdom. At what point will one viral exposure going to take them out? And I was watching videos about the 1918 flu pandemic, and they guess they did an autopsy in that one video that I was watching. And they looked at the lungs, and lungs were so heavy, so full of liquid. And the person drowned in their own mucus. Like, they literally drowned in their own mucus. And that's what I felt like a couple weeks ago when I got exposed to some variant, that I felt like I was drowning in my own mucus. And that's when my coughing mechanism, that's what I'm saying, blow your nose, blow your nose, blow your nose. Because the more that you exercise blowing your nose, like so hard, you will actually feel the muscles in your diaphragm, and then you also feel yourself fart at the same time. When my dog was barking at the window a couple years ago, when we were at the other house, I saw her butt pucker. Every time she barked, her butt puckered. Okay? When she sneezes, I see mucus come out of her hoo-ha. So her mouth is connected to her ass. I knew that there was a connection. I remember that, and I was just like, wow, when she barks, her butt puckers. Oh, wow, when she sneezes, there's mucus come out. That's how her body releases, aside from pooping and peeing and her, and her sneezing, her body also releases mucus at the back end. And yeah, I see it every so often. I'll see a big long thing of mucus. She knows I'm talking about her. Hi, sugar. She's so cute. And that's how her body is surviving being in an open system as far as her body's system is open. Because she will be exposed to everything that my husband brings home, and we both deal with it together. Or I go out there and bring home something and she has to deal with it. And sometimes she acts like she's drunk. Because yeah, when you're getting exposed to that much viral upload that turns into mucus in your body because it's defense system, I have to watch her. And then when she finally releases and everything is okay, she's good. Sometimes she has a hard time going down the stairs because of all that exposure. That's what I'm saying. Homogenized environments are great. It's when you bring in a divergent, when you bring in someone who's very evolutionary, it upsets the homeostasis, but sometimes it needs to. But at this point, it's so much. There's so much that I have to keep feeding, of course. I have to keep watching her. I have to keep feeding myself, of course. But the amount of food I'm taking in because of my exposure is so much more. So this environment make you appreciate the calmer environments, which means it's your own personal homogenized household. And if you don't want to feel any energy again, you could be cured and then have this stuff work against you and against your children. And maybe it'll accelerate their maturation rate, which why kids are looking older than they have been. Okay, but that's the thing is that yeah, when kids are exposed to all this, they will mature faster. But that's okay as long as you give them the knowledge that'll match their rate of maturity. Because I'll tell you, when you have a grown up who looks like they're 30 and they have the aptitude of someone who's like in 8th grade, there's a total disconnect when we have juvenile adults out there running our fucking society who haven't really grown up because their body goes mature faster than their head. And maybe they can spit out a few nice numbers and do this and do that, but they haven't figured out how to deal with self-control. And so when you give them all the money in the world, and that's what happens in the celebrities, is that we have kids that have grown up so fast in the industry, and you give them a bunch of money at them, and they go and destroy themselves and other people, and they don't really have an understanding of how shit works because they've been given everything. And we have a lot of those kids in our society too. They've been given everything, don't know how everything works, and then mommy and daddy goes and bails them out. They don't learn their lessons, and then they become grown-up disasters that need some kind of police control. And so we got to, if our kids are going to mature faster, we've got to get them exposed to a lot and have them deal with shit and have to deal with the pain, because the pain is where the magic is. That'll teach them, not like you inflict pain upon them, but they have to deal with their own predispositions. They have to know what it's like when you go out there and they feel the virus, they feel all that stuff. And at some point, if you haven't cured for a certain amount because they're in school, I understand that, which means, okay, but they're going to have to deal with that at some point. They're going to deal with all that retroactive evolution. And when you're collecting that many viruses at a young age, they have to be released. They have to be reconciled with. And what will that look like? When your body finally reconciles it on its own, that could look like cancer, disease, and chronic illness. When you reconcile with it and you preempt it, then you're able to at least control the outcome. But when you allow the system to hold things back, and then your body finally reconciles with it when it has to, then now the system is in control of the outcome, and you're just now, holy shit. So anyways, I just wanted to put that out there, but the last couple of days has been a doozy. In Ohio, they're saying that there's like more Hep A cases for children, and I'm sure I've been exposed to Hep A out here. Of course. Okay? But my body's reconciling with it, and whatever I get exposed to, I will be releasing, and I'll have to blow my nose and poop it out and do all the stuff and eat and feed. And so, you know, it's not going to affect me, but I really do, I do feel for the future. I do weep for the future, for these kids that parents don't know. I don't even say they don't care. I think parents definitely do care. They obviously care, or they wouldn't take their kids to the doctors or do the things they do. But I don't think they have it within them to really get what is truly going on here. And what is truly going on here, we're in a great reset. We're in a great decline. This virus was released for whatever reason, and we can speculate who and when, what, where, and why. But now it's like the 1918 pandemic, and they underplayed it. We don't have anyone around that remembers the pandemic, unless you go onto YouTube and you hear people from the 1918 or people from the 1980s talk about 1918 and when that pandemic happened and what they experienced. But in true real form, we don't have anyone that really remembers it. I don't remember. I wasn't born back then. And so now I see what it was like back then. And yeah, we're going to deal with it for now. That's what every fall is. That's what every autumn is when you have the virus mutate. And you'll even have viruses even in the summertime as the weather gets hotter and people go indoors into the air conditioning. So you will have people getting afflicted even during the summer and the spring, not just the fall. But the fall will be a bigger doozy because, yeah, the winter, when things are colder, you lose substance because your body is now having to upgrade and go through. And that's why animals get sick and have issues between cold. Like my dog, when she had her fatty tumor, that thing reared its ugly head when it was really red and inflamed, and that was a couple of years ago, back in 2018, was when it was going from summer to fall and even spring. And I remember I tried to do all these things to get it down, and finally it's all reversed. Now it just has hair on it, and it's basically a nipple. So it's probably not even a tumor, it's just a nipple that was inflamed. But yeah, the change in seasons is when you're going to find that people are going to start dropping like flies, because the weather is also a virus. And it will also wake up things inside of you. And it's energetic. So the heat, the cold, all of those extreme changes, and even all the rains and everything, bringing in the viruses, I'm telling you, when you live in a summertime place, when it's all just summer, like Hawaii, 80 degrees and relatively stable. But what makes Hawaii deal with COVID is because of all the travelers. That's the storm that they bring in, and I guess occasionally the storms that come in from the different parts of the world. But it's their tourism is what caused their COVID-19. But if you were in a place where you didn't get too much weather, you just had the rainy season. Well, not even rainy. You had I don't know. You didn't have rain, but you had fresh water. Where did it come from? Probably the rain, but rain somewhere else, and it comes fed through under the ocean. You had the ocean around you, and you're on an island. That'd be perfect. And you had food just come magically to you. That would be perfect paradise, right? But it's when the weather changes, when the people change. It's the people that bring the viruses. When you have less people, you have less viruses. But why didn't we have this before? Oh, we had it before, but we were okay with the rate of the death, rate of life, right? But everything that we experienced prior to COVID-19 was based upon the 1918 flu pandemic. And then anything else in between 1918 flu and between now. Or between 2019 and 2018. And there was the AIDS virus in between that. And there was other, like, avian flu and all these different other viruses. But that was the major, major pandemic worldwide. Before that was like the bubonic plague. But I even heard that 1918 flu was even more than the bubonic plague. So the COVID-19, I think, is going to surpass even the 1918 flu pandemic. And it will be a major, major fall every autumn. And so I'm prepared to deal with that. And for you, Jilly Juicers, I'm only saying to you, Jilly Juicers, not everybody else. Stock up on food for you. If you're not doing the JJ Meta mentality and if you expect to die someday, don't stock up on food. But those that plan to live through all of this and deal with the shit, stock up on food. So I know Nichelle was saying, well, she's telling everybody to stock up on food. Well, what's the point if you're going to pass away anyways? You're just wasting the food. Well, it might go to their friends. It might go to their family or whoever. Who knows where that food's going to go if someone passed away. So who I'm telling you is if you're on the JJ meta mentality, stock up on food. Don't tell your friends to stock up on food who don't really care, who are out there with everybody and their mother taking in the viruses. I absolutely have no idea what's going on. But you yourself stock up on food. Because the winter is going to be harsh. And there might be another shortage. Who knows? I'm not saying go overboard, but I'm saying just be aware that there might be, who knows, right now we have the formula, we have people, there's Skittles being recalled. I mean, Skittles is not like main food, but still, there's other things being recalled. Okay? And so you don't know to what magnitude what's going to happen between now and or between what's going to happen, in the fall. And so just get your canned foods, whatever they are, and just stock up on them. Slowly, you don't have to go all out, but do it slowly between now and August. So you have time, okay? But don't tell your friends and family who don't care. Because if they're stocking on food and then they die, what's the point? That's why I said to Nichelle, don't tell people to do this if they're going to die anyways. If they're already planning to pass away and they don't understand how to deal with these viruses and all this other stuff, don't tell them this because it'll waste the food. I'm only telling my Jelly Juice crowd here. And maybe I only have, 5,000 followers here. Maybe around, it's probably the same mirror over there in my Exposing the Lies. And then on my Jelly Juice, maybe about 1,500 followers. So when you think about it, I'm not really talking to too many people when you think about it. Okay? So if you're on the JJ meta mentality, stock up on food. If you're not, don't bother. Everything will be fine for you guys. But that's the thing, is that we got to be very careful who we tell this to, because we don't want everybody in our town taking all the food. Especially if they don't care anyways. They're not going to be around and they're not going to live that long. All right. That's all I'm going to say right now. I'm going to go take care of some stuff and pet my dog and whatever. But you guys, this is some crazy stuff. I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, I would not have anticipated being in this position, saying what I'm saying, doing what I'm doing, and feeling what I'm feeling. Because I remember a couple of years ago I said, you'll never be sick again when you're on the J-Juice. Well, yeah, when you're cured and you rest in peace, you'll never be sick again. But that's no different than everybody else out there well, even then, here's the thing. Yeah, that might be true. You'll be on J-Juice. If someone's on J-Juice forever, like they just keep taking J-Juice, they'll never be sick again, even when they're rest in peace. They'll just die. They might have an event in their sleep, but they'll be so lacking substance because they're doing J-Juice all the time for every single symptom that they won't feel their death process. So they won't get disease. That's right. You won't get cancer, disease, and chronic illness because you won't feel it because you'll be cured. And so I was actually kind of right that if you stay on the J-Juice forever, you won't feel your death. you won't have cancer. You won't have disease. You won't have chronic illness. At least those that get cancer, disease, and chronic illness have now a different way to deal with it, and they have some kind of stay of execution, and then they can figure out some different stuff. But if you're staying on the J-Juice and that's the end all be all for you, yeah, you won't feel when you die. And so now you have to feel every single variant, and that means that maybe you have to change your life. All right, bye.